Huge news. Pennsylvania is proposing to use its $7 billion strategic fund to buy Bitcoin as a Treasury reserve asset. And rumors are circulating that Gary Gensler is stepping down as SEC chair. Bye-bye, Gary. And Bitcoin adoption at the nation-state level seems inevitable at this point.
You have a pro-Bitcoin White House, pro-Bitcoin House of Reps, and a pro-Bitcoin Senate, and a pro-Bitcoin senator. And her bill calls for 1 million Bitcoin to be purchased by the United States government over 5 years.
Meanwhile, the world is waiting to see if Team Doge and the Avengers will save America and its government from itself. The US government has racked up $1 trillion worth of debt in just the past 4 months. We have a huge debt problem on our hands, and it's going to cause America to collapse regardless of how great Team Doge is. Will our debt bomb explode before we adopt Bitcoin as a Treasury reserve asset? Today we ask the question, can the government actually cut our way through our debt problem? Or is Bitcoin the only way out of this debt mess we're in? We're going to look at the possibility of the United States government adopting Bitcoin as a Treasury reserve asset and walk through a plan of how it could be worth $81 trillion by 2045. What's up, everybody? I'm Dante Cook with Bitcoin Simply. If you're enjoying the content that we make on this channel, please do subscribe. Let's get into today's episode.
Several years ago, Trump wasn't a big fan of Bitcoin. Now he's Mr. Bitcoin. We're going to have a strategic reserve. He's going to have friendly regulators with regard to that. He wants the United States to be the center of the cryptocurrency world. This is a home run for Bitcoin. That's very, very different than where he would have been several years ago. But a lot of people have changed their tune from where they were several years ago. Remember Jamie Dimon talking about Bitcoin being pet rocks. All those things have changed. And Bitcoin, I think there isn't any question that that's legitimately here to stay. I think it's going to have significant growth ahead of it.
This huge explosion that's happening in Bitcoin right now is due to a tectonic shift that the United States might actually be considering Bitcoin as a strategic reserve asset. Just today, Pennsylvania proposed a bill that would allow them to invest up to $700 million from a $7 billion strategic fund into Bitcoin. State Rep Mike Cable says the bill is a visionary step towards securing our state's financial future. And it's not just state reps like Matt Cable who are thinking this way. These ideas are definitely being circulated at the highest levels of government. Donald Trump's entire cabinet is pro-crypto. And with Gary Gensler hinting in a recent statement that he might be stepping down as SEC chair, well, things got a whole lot easier for crypto being adopted by government at the highest levels. Back to Trump and his team. Some people believe that Vivek and Elon, or Team Doge, can actually reduce all of the spending in the government and make it actually an efficient organization. Here's a clip of Vivek sounding like a pastor preaching at a Southern Baptist convention.
Reject the impulse. It's going to happen in the next 4 years. We will face temptation to say that we want to replace that left-wing nanny state with a right-wing nanny state. The right answer to that question is hell no. The right answer is to dismantle the nanny state. We will face the temptation to say we want to replace the left-wing regulatory state with a right-wing regulatory state. The right answer to that is hell no. We want to dismantle the regulatory state. We will face the temptation to say, hey, we want to staff the bureaucracies with our own people and claim that we want to reform them. No. The right answer is to get in there and shut down the bureaucracy. That's how we save this country. That's what our founding fathers fought for in 1776. And if we do, then we don't have to be this nation in decline anymore that we've become.
Vivek says that on America's 250th anniversary, July 4th, 2026, Doge will deliver our nation the birthday gift of a government that's actually accountable to its people, rather than the other way around. Here's my issue with this idea overall. Reducing our debt by a few $1 trillion a year, it will not eliminate our debt problem, which some say is too big to fail, or too big and it will fail. And in the past 4 months, the United States government has added $1 trillion in debt. In the first month of the fiscal year, the United States government had a deficit of $257 billion. That's almost a $200 billion increase from the year before. But hey, what's a few $100 billion between us friends? Here's the reality. Government receipts and revenue only cover entitlements and interest spending. Discretionary spending and defense spending are all done by issuing debt. Does anybody else not see a problem with this? And it's not just the United States government that has a debt problem. United States consumers, or total household debt, has risen to $18 trillion, the highest level that it's ever been. There's an old adage that says, you can't get wealthy by reducing the amount of Starbucks that you drink. The path to wealth is by buying, holding, and never selling valuable, desirable, scarce assets. We can't solve our problem by trying to reduce our spending problem. We have to solve our problem by finding a different solution altogether. Will the United States government really adopt Bitcoin as a strategic reserve asset? Or is this just some pie in the sky idea? Is there even a precedent for this sort of thing that we can look at from the past? It turns out there is.
There are historic precedents for this. Once upon a time, the Dutch paid 60 guilders for Manhattan. They generated a multi-trillion-dollar payoff. Once upon a time, we bought the Louisiana Territory for $15 million. It's like a third of the country. It's worth trillions. We bought California from the Mexicans. Under duress, I'll note, but we still paid them. They didn't want to sell because they were smart. You shouldn't have sold California. But nonetheless, we paid $18 million. We had a chance to do the deal. By the way, I don't want to sell you my Bitcoin either. We paid them $18 million. We got California, Nevada, Vegas. It's worth quite a lot, $8 trillion. And then we bought Alaska from the Russians. We paid them a few million. It's worth trillions. Okay, it's been done before. It's a very simple idea. Figure out where the value is going to be. Go buy it cheap and hold it. You're a nation. That's what nations do. Bitcoin is manifest destiny for the United States. I think the Trump administration understands it. I think Senator Lummis understands it. I think everybody that's behind her understands it. That's why it will happen.
If you believe in Bitcoin as digital property in cyberspace, then it's interesting to think about what the future price of Bitcoin could be if you think about the ARR, or growth rate in value, of Manhattan, Louisiana, California, and Alaska, as Michael Saylor cited in his examples. I had a little fun in taking the same slides that Michael Saylor used and recreated them. I looked at the value in the growth rate and assumed that if Bitcoin were to rise at the same rate of growth for the same period of time from today's price, what would the future price of Bitcoin be? Sort of a fun experiment. When comparing the rate of growth or return from buying Manhattan and the amount of time that it was bought to Bitcoin, well, the price of Bitcoin would be $1.06 quadrillion. If you compare Bitcoin's price with the growth of Louisiana, well, Bitcoin would be worth $65 billion, $48 billion in the case of California, and $12 billion with Alaska. Not a bad return. If the Trump trade actually happened, it would go a long way to reducing the amount of debt that the United States government has. And thinking about this scenario and how much Bitcoin could be worth if the United States government adopted it as a strategic reserve asset, you should consider how much more you should be securing, protecting, and thinking about the long-term management of your Bitcoin, which is why you should speak to the team at thebitcoinway.com. Their team will help you properly protect your Bitcoin by teaching you the basics of self-custody, cybersecurity, and privacy, so that when Bitcoin is worth millions per coin, you feel confident in your skills to secure this once-in-a-generation asset. Head to thebitcoinway.com and schedule a free consultation with our team today. There's actual merit to this idea. This idea actually comes from Senator Lummis, who in Wyoming has been paving the way for all of us for a bright orange Bitcoin future by proposing the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve Plan, which says that we would buy 1 million Bitcoin by 2030. By even starting with 1 million Bitcoin and not even looking at the Bitcoin Maxi or Triple Maxi or Trump plans that Michael Saylor talked about, we get a lot further than even with Elon and Vivek, two of our best, going after our government's debt problem. Not saying we shouldn't cure the cancer that is the American government and its reckless spending, but we should also not neglect the benefits of simply buying and adopting Bitcoin. One other added benefit of this is it might actually drive the adoption of T-bills, or United States Treasuries and government bonds. You see, because as digital assets grow, the demand for government treasuries actually grow through stablecoins. The United States Treasury actually said this themselves in a 132-page report that they recently released. If Bitcoin becomes a strategic reserve asset, this might actually do wonders for assets like Tether, who own 97 billion United States-backed government instruments. When Biden took office, the United States debt was $27 trillion. And he's going to end his term with it being over $36 trillion. So that's $9 trillion worth of debt in just 4 years. Can Elon and the Doge team fix this? Absolutely not. Bitcoin is our best hope. And if you're starting to catch on that Bitcoin is our best hope and you hope for a brighter orange future, then I got a special proposition for you. You need to experience the Bitcoin community in real life. And I can't think of a better way of doing that by coming down to Dallas, Texas April 3rd through April 6th to join me and some of the Bitcoin OGs at the BitBlockBoom conference. BitBlockBoom is Bitcoin's oldest conference, and it'll be the networking event of the year. Your ticket allows you to level up your Bitcoin education and knowledge on days like Friday with workshops. It also gives you access to a Saturday night casino party and Saturday conference session. You're going to hear fire content from Bitcoin OGs like Marty Bent, Parker Lewis, and random people like me. Get $100 off your ticket by using the code BBB21. The conference is big, but it's small enough that you can have real relationships and real connections with some of the people that you hear and see on TV, podcasts, and Twitter. Don't miss the BitBlockBoom event this year, April 3rd through April 6th in Dallas, Texas. And with that, we're signing off for the day. This is Dante Cook with Bitcoin Simply. Happy stacking.